Hello and welcome to my channel. This, I confess, is footage from some gel printing I did last year. I made a couple of very short videos from it at the time and I started editing it, but I was a little overwhelmed, I think, by the sheer amount of footage that there was. And those of you who are gel printers, you know how easy it is to get carried away. So anyway, here it is. I'm no great expert and it's not meant as a tutorial, more just a watch along. However, I do try and explain the process at the start and as I go. If you are interested in the process being broken down, please take a look at my shorter videos and I do hope to make some more of those soon. So I hope you enjoy and here we go. Hi, welcome. Today I'm making some collage papers. It was quite a long session, so I've had to edit it down a fair bit. But I have tried to show the transitions and when I'm putting things to dry, just so you get an idea, and I will interject sometimes with some speaking just to let you know what's happening if I think it might not be clear. So here you can see that I'm very fortunate to have access to a number of the 6x6 inch gel plates. I think these are the class pack of the gel press plates. I have already used some acrylic from Lucas Acryl Studio, the indigo. Now I'm using, I think it's a PBO red, one of the reds, possibly primary magenta. And I've used a normal paintbrush, a stencil paintbrush to get the round blue spots, and I've also used an embossing tool to get the smaller spots. Now I'm putting those aside to dry. As you can see, I'm using a couple of glass plates which are just handy to stick the jelly plates to, and I've protected the corners because they do sometimes chip and get a bit sharp, even though they're toughened glass. I have now used, I think, a wetter brush. I've probably put it in the water. I'm still using the same paint, but as you can see, it's balling up a little bit on the plate, but that's fine. That'll give me some different textures. The whole aim of this was to just create some more structured collage papers because I have a lot of soft textures, but I needed some lines, some contrast, some shapes and some sharp edges. So I just thought I'd have a play and see how many different shapes I can make, just to add interest to collages. I've tried doing this from my own point of view and in terms of camera angle this time because I thought it might make you feel more involved, but there's a lot of arms and shoulders coming into it which I've had to edit out, so I might have to try a different technique. But again, it's all learning. This is only my second proper video and I'm just bringing you along from the journey. I'll be doing a lot of learning. Here I'm drying the plates. And I think I put these all aside now to dry. So the plan is to put these aside, let them dry, add more layers, let those layers dry, and then put a final layer on that will meld all the layers together. You put that aside with the paper over it, you let it dry, and then you can pull everything up in one go. You'll see this soon, if you don't know about it already. So you can see the plate on the right has stained. That really doesn't matter at all. It doesn't change the way the plate works in any way as far as I've experienced. I like making these ombre effects, but at the same time I was trying to keep a little bit of texture. I didn't want to have it too smooth. I'm using Snowdon cartridge paper, which I buy from Jackson's in London. Get it posted to me. It's a nice weight cartridge paper and it's acid free. I do tend to use copy paper a lot, but this is also nice. I do tend to leave the paper on a little bit longer when I use this, so I think it just needs a bit more time to absorb because it's a thicker paper and the texture shows through quite a lot otherwise. Now I have cut out quite a lot of the rubbing, so I tend to rub them for longer than I'm showing, but I didn't think you'd want to see my hands doing that all the time. So here's one and here's another. As you can see, the paper is quite good quality. This one I was trying to get blue on white and white on blue. So I thought if I rolled the blue and the white on and then cut into it and then did the opposite with the pickup layer afterwards, I'd get the opposite effects on each side. I should have used a larger tool, as you'll see in a minute, but it's given me an idea for something to try in the future with a little bit more consideration and thought into how I go about it. But that's the good thing about playing, it gives you leads and ideas for the next thing to try, the next experiment. So if I'd used a wider tool there, I think I'd have had a better effect. I'm going to use the embossing tool again. I do love this paint, don't I? Doesn't look as though I've scraped in very deep there, but I think it did show through afterwards fairly well. So again, off to the side to dry. The timings are much longer than you're seeing because this paint is quite transparent and it's quite slow drying. It did need a fair while to dry off. So here I'm doing a pickup layer. I could make it more complex, but I decided I just wanted the blue dots for this. Sometimes it's quite nice to have some reasonably quiet and calm pieces. This one I decided needed a bit of gold. I find I'm putting a lot of gold on things these days. Things need a bit of glamour just to cheer them up and get a glint in the light. I find it's a really good idea to keep a little sketchbook with a whole vocabulary of all the different shapes and patterns that you can think of. In fact, even better than a sketchbook, it's great to have a wall with them on, because sketchbooks get put away and they're very easily forgotten about. But to have lots of little bits of paper on a wall with different patterns, stripes, dots, chevrons, squiggles, etc. just helps remind you of all the different shapes and patterns you can make, and helps you to vary your ideas a little bit, especially if you get stuck in a rut. Now this is back. I'm just testing that it's dry enough. So each layer needs to dry before you put a next layer on, pickup layer. Well, it doesn't have to, but that's the method I was using. It does if you're going to roll another colour on top. The other way of doing it would be to put the white on the paper first and then print the wet blue and red on top of that. But that's another day and another story. So So I've given this one a few minutes just to absorb, and I find the longer you leave it, the cleaner the pull. Now this one is dry, it's probably taken about 20 minutes or half an hour. So it's ready for its next layer. Here I'm doing the white on the blue, and on the other side I thought I'd do the blue on the white, and I hoped it would show through then where I scratched it. Now this paint is going to pull the other paint up, because if you give it a good rub and leave it for a while just to meld and reactivate the layer underneath, then when you lift it, the paper brings both layers back up. So this one I'm painting into the wet paint straight away because I want the blue to show through on the other side. So I decided I wanted a scribbly effect. I'm just lifting part of this because I could see that there would be a stronger pattern if I did that. Now, Posca pens, that's another one. I'm still on scribble mode. So these give nice definition. I've already used this piece in a collage actually. And off to dry. So here's the one. You'll see now. I wasn't that pleased with it, but it's a start. It's given me an idea. It was a thought. So I'm sorry there's lots of switching plates, but it would be a lot more confusing if I didn't show the switches, because you'd really be wondering what was going on. So I'm just going to leave that to soak in a little. This one's ready for some treatments. Again, they're taking longer than you see to dry. Everything's happening much more slowly than you're seeing. There you go. So I am quite enjoying this idea of scraping a window through the paint and letting something peep in from behind. That's something I want to explore further. Gold hasn't shown through a lot, but just enough to give it a little glamour. As you can see, I tend to get stuck on one thing and I just keep going until I get really bored with it. Now, here are the other tools. These are pieces of flooring samples, which my other half gave me, which make great stamps. That's a Mars black. So that's quite a warmish black. On the red side of black rather than the blue side. Away to dry. So I found it more effective if I stamped off the excess paint each time. It picked up more paint the next time. And I think maybe this one was more effective because it's a transparent paint. So this one finally has dried. It's taken a long time, and I'm putting some gold on. Pebeo, someone please tell me how it's pronounced. I have two golds. They have a warm gold and a cooler gold, both of which are very useful. I think the warm gold is called precious antique gold or precious metallic gold. So here I didn't want white, so I'm just mixing a little bit of titanium buff in with it to take off the iciness. Because this one's a very opaque paint, it doesn't seem to be lifting so easily with the stamps. Comes the Posca pen and the Mars black. I often mix the Mars black because I'm not a big lover of a warm black. I often mix it with, I've got some Payne's grey, and the two of them together balance out quite nicely and give a little bit of variance in the colour if you don't mix it too much. Way to dry, and this one's got lots of potential. As you see, it's got a lovely texture. Again, I'm muting the white down a little with titanium buff. I don't think I've let this one dry enough. As you can see, the glue is coming through. That's not too bad. I've kept most of the definition there. It's going to need something else though, which it does get in a while. I've decided to draw a picture, like as if you were doing a reductive monoprint. So I'm using my embossing tool and some other tools in a minute as well to create some trees. There it is, you can see through nicely. And this is dried, pulls up really nicely. There we go. This is a good weight of paper to do collage with as well, because it doesn't bubble quite as much as copy paper when you put lots of glue on it. The nice thing about the glass plate is that you can have a look on the other side and get some idea of how it's going to look, and it can help you judge which colour to put on the back. I appreciate I'm very lucky to have all these plates, but all of these methods can be done with one plate. You just have to have a bit more patience, and until recently I was doing that myself. Put them away, let them dry. Or use other methods which are more instant, which I will do a video on shortly, hopefully. This is an example. For example, I've put a background on the paper. Straight away I'm going to print this. While the paint is still wet, I'm going to lift it. And I repeat that with lots of different colours, trying to get a balance of values and colour contrasts as I go. So there was red on there, so I decided it needed some green. So because the red and the green are complementary colours and they're opposite each other on the colour wheel, then they help to make each other pop. So I think I've got to the point here where I wasn't quite sure what to do with it next. So I put it aside, and later on I picked it back up and actually worked on it again, and it became one of my favourite prints of the day in the end. Now this has come out well. I like that texture. And this is actually one of my favourites. I don't think you can really appreciate the detail on it on the screen. I'll try and show it again later with a close-up. I always find it's the first one I make that ends up being my favourite. I think when you first go to it, you're so loose, you're just playing. That's when the magic happens for me. After that, you start trying too hard. Lovely golden overlay. String on a toilet roll. How simple can it be? Yes, I'll definitely be keeping the camera away from my shoulder in future. I'll be putting it across the table again, I think. I do have a gooseneck. If anybody's got a better setup, please give me some ideas. I have a gooseneck attached to a table beside me here, and I sometimes attach it across the table. But I want really a boom that comes across. I'm sure I can make one, a makeshift one. I do have a tripod I can attach it to. It's only a phone weight. I'm only using my phone to do the video, so I don't need a really strong DSLR kind of zoom boom at the moment. I have tried using my camera, but it gets overheated quite quickly. I'm finding my phone much more effective actually. think it's nice sometimes just to sit back and watch something and then get a general gist and then look at the individual processes in more detail later. Getting a general overview like this at least sparks interest. You might think, how did she make that again? So yes, I think I'll make a separate short video just showing 2 or 3 of these and how each one was produced. Back with the bubble wrap. I think I spoiled this one. It was doing okay on its own. This didn't really... Oh, actually no, that one was okay, like that. I should have left that there. I like that as it is. I think I spoil it later. That's the trouble, it's very easy to put an extra layer on and go a little bit too far, or make a mistake with one of the layers that it doesn't actually improve it in any way. These Princeton tools are great, but you don't need that. You could use the edge of a piece of credit card, store card that's been cut up, piece of mountboard, anything like that. Now this one I was trying to save. This is not doing much for me, but very often if you cut a piece out of something like that, it'll be great for a collage. You'll often find a part of it or a little passage of it which really works well. So I'm just going to use that white that's left on the plate. Get some texture into the blue that I've rolled onto the white. I love the big bubble wrap. And look at this. Gold and blue coming off there. That's one of my favourite pieces as well. This is the Neo Acryl Primary Cyan. I think it's a German make, and I think I got it from Great Art. It's a big 750ml bottle, and if I remember, it was a very reasonable price. I find the pigment load quite good. I like the consistency, and I think I would buy more of these. So I think this must be either a fabric edging tape or a Hessian tape that I stuck to this toilet roll. The rolling pins, by the way, I can't remember where I got it. I think it was a pound shop. So I'm now going to pick this up. The gold and white backgrounds. So this now will become the background of the print. Got to think backwards. Off to dry, unless it's ready. Oh, there we are. It's ready enough. It must have had a few minutes. So all those layers showing through. So at this point I've started cutting out some of the extraneous video, because as you can see, it's getting quite long. I'm very impressed if you're still with me, and thank you if you are. I'm doing some reveals here of the earlier ones that I made. This one's on cartridge paper, so it's fine. The previous one you just saw was on one of my copy papers. Some copy papers are brilliant, some are too weak, or it might just have been my impatience that I didn't let it dry enough. But unfortunately at the moment I've mixed all my copy papers up, so I need to start recording the makes that make good gel prints, because some of them are great, some will rip though and the layers kind of come off. So this is another one on the strong cartridge paper. That one's quite nice, plenty going on there. Again, this one is the weaker paper, as you can see, it's more see-through, and again I've been impatient. Unfortunately, that was my monoprints, which I quite enjoyed making. I'll do more of those though. Looks quite effective. Even with the rippy bits, it's fine. This is the one where I regretted adding this layer, because I think it was doing perfectly well. But that's the good thing about gel printing, you can just keep adding layers. If you don't like something, you just add layers and eventually get to a point that you like. This one was the one which I left earlier because I wasn't quite sure where to go with. I've decided to mute down the colours, and to that end I'm taking some paint off the, I think it's titanium white, off the plate, just to let the colours show through, and I'm printing that straight away. So I didn't let that one dry first, and I'm not letting this one dry first either. I'm just removing some of the paints and then layering up. So again, I'm muting down those colours. That's coming to quite a nice place, so I decided at this point to make some little windows. I'm quite into squares at the moment, and I've just realised, looking back on this from last year, that this must have been where it originated from, because I'm doing pencil squares quite a lot at the moment, and I quite like these, as I said before, I like these little windows, so that's one of my favourites. Ignore the one on the right here, I didn't show that, I haven't shown the development of that. I had to stop at some point because I've got far too much footage. There is plenty of footage to make another video, so if you've got the stamina and you are interested, then please let me know. But I'm sure you're getting the idea now. So I've decided to do some little rainbows on this one. So they'd come out quite nicely, quite pretty. So here's a range of the ones that I made. Some of these you've seen, some you haven't. As I say, there is more footage. So thank you ever so much for watching. I do appreciate it. I hope you've got something out of it. If you want to like and subscribe, then please do so. So take care of yourselves, and I hope to see you again. Bye now.